Hi everybody, my name is Sherry Lahane. I am one of the creators, the instructional designers of this course. And as you launch into Lesson 4 and begin to evaluate and investigate some tools that you can be using for your technology integration journey, I wanted to give you an overview of some of the G Suite tools. So let's start out with a little bit of an explanation of what G Suite is. And before I do that, I want to talk to you about the Rhode Island Adult Ed domain. So as you can see here, I am sharing my screen with you and I'm in my email. My email is, I'm going to click over here and you can see that it's slahane@riadulted.org. We have a domain which means kind of like an account for Rhode Island Adult Ed, and that allows all teachers and all students to share this one domain. When students move from program to program, I'm sure you've all experienced an instance where students can't get into their email account, they can't remember their username or their password. When they have this account, they can have one account and move from program to program. So that's a huge benefit to our students. It's also a benefit to us as teachers because we'll spend less time trying to help them figure out how to get into their accounts. And as I start to show you some of the benefits of using Google Drive and the programs that are in there, you'll see that students will always be able to access the things that they create within their account regardless of where they are and what agency they're with. So they can do it at home, they can do it at school, they can do it at 3 different adult ed agencies. And teachers can also do the same thing. We can share documents with one another, we can access a shared set of resources, we can communicate with one another, etc. So these are some of the reasons that we chose to have a shared domain, and we've done that under the license of RISD, the Rhode Island affiliate of International Standards for Technology Educators. So when you have a Gmail account, and in this case we have a Gmail account, as I mentioned, under RISD, and the name of our Gmail account or domain is riadulted.org. What you really have is a Google account. And with your Google account, you have access to Gmail as well as a number of other tools. So there's always different ways to get into some of these tools. You do need to have your account. It could be your personal account, but once again, we want you to set up an riadulted.org account. And you can do this by contacting support at riadulted.org, and I'll be sharing that with you in Lesson 4. So I'm in my Gmail, and as you can see over here, when I hover on what I call the waffle, the little word comes up that says Google Apps. I'm going to click on Google Apps and a menu pops up. And in this menu you can see there's a lot of different things like Google Classroom, Google Docs, Google Sheets, a whole bunch of tools. Collectively these are known as G Suite tools. If I go down to the bottom, I find even more, and if I clicked here, which I'm not going to do right now, it says more from G Suite Marketplace. There's a lot more tools, including some add-ons that you can access. When I go into Google Drive, which I'm going to do in a minute, I will be able to access docs, sheets, slides, forms, and more. So I'm going to start by going into Drive. So here I am in Drive. This happens to be my Drive, and Drive is, you can think of it as a storage area, and when I click in New, I can upload something, I can create a folder up here, I can upload a folder, and then I can go into Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Slides. So most of you are probably familiar with Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, and Microsoft Excel. Google Docs is the equivalent to Microsoft Word. Google Sheets, if you look over here, it kind of looks like the little icon for Excel. It's a spreadsheet, and it's the equivalent of Microsoft Excel, and Google Slides is like Microsoft PowerPoint. Each of these are slightly watered down versions of the Microsoft versions, but I'm going to go ahead and open up Google Docs, and you'll see that it pretty much looks like a Word doc. When we click on each of the tabs up here, you'll notice that we have drop-down menus. What I found is there's a little bit less functionality for some things. If I'm using a document that is very involved with formatting, I usually work in Microsoft Word. But otherwise, you're going to find that here we have the ribbon. You're going to find that these tools are pretty much the same. You might have to poke around a little bit to find out maybe where page layout is. It might be in a different spot, or it might be under a different tab. Now, the reason that we're introducing you to Google Docs, I'm just going to say lesson 4 practice, is because once we create a Google Doc, unlike Microsoft Word, we do not have to save this and then attach it to an email, etc. What we can do is we can share it. So when I click over here in the upper right hand corner and I say share, I can decide how I want to share it and who I want to share it with. So I'm going to go ahead and get the shareable link, and I get a menu up. Now it defaults if your email is within an organization like this one is at RISD, it's going to default with anyone at RISD. And watch what happens when I click on this, and I'm going to click on more. I have a bunch of options. So with each of these options, for example, anyone with the link. Now I'm going to go down here and it says anyone, no sign-in required, and I can choose. They can either just view the document, they can comment on the document, or they can edit. Edit means they can go in and type into it. And once again, I can do it for specific people, anyone at RISD, on or off. It can be public on the web or just anyone. So it depends who you're sharing it, but you want to be careful. So you just do that, and let's just say I do anyone with a link, and I do save, and then right here where it says people, I would type in the email address of the person I want. Now once you're in the system, like the other teachers and students, you just have to type in a couple of letters and their names will pop up. And in the space below where it says add a note, you can add a little note, and then you would say send, and they would receive a notification in their email that you've shared a document with them. So when other people are using the document, I would be able to see them up here where it says share. Right here, I would be able to see either a circle like mine with the letter S for Sherry, and when they're in anonymously, it shows like a little picture of an animal. It's very cute. And so when I collaborate with my colleagues at the Providence Public Library and we're working on maybe a grant project or a document at the same time, I can see exactly who's in it, and if they're typing, I can see them typing as well. We're going to be practicing that later on in this lesson. In the meantime, I wanted to share the comment feature. So I'm going to go over here to insert. You saw this on the video, and it says insert a comment, and a little box pops up, and I might say, how do you feel about this? And I just say comment. And now when if you were to go in, you would look at this, you can click on it, and here you can reply, and you can say I like it, except it would have your name, and you reply. There's a lot more functionality within Commons, but those are the basics. Now we're going to be also looking at Google Classroom a little bit later, but for the moment this is just a very short, super short lesson in how to access Google Drive and Google Docs and a couple of the short features that you saw in the previous video. And before I close, I'd just like to say that, as I mentioned, when you're in here, Google Sheets and Google Slides works exactly the same way as far as inserting comments and sharing. There's a lot more that you can do, and again, we'll be coming back to this a couple of times. Now before I go, I'm just going to show you one more resource that's at your fingertips, and it will be in this lesson, which is gcflearnfree.org. You might be familiar with it. Use it a lot with students. So if I click on technology, you can see Office 2006, email, internet. There's a lot here. And when I scroll down, what happened to it? And when I scroll down, I can okay. So here we are at gcflearnfree.org. You might be familiar with this resource. I've used it a lot with students, and I'm going to go into here where it says all topics. They've changed the menu, so if you haven't looked at it in a while, in August of 2018 or July, they've changed it a little bit. So I'm in all topics, and I'm going to scroll down until I get to using the cloud. And in using the cloud, you'll notice that there's Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Maps, Google Sheets, etc. So this is a great place for you to understand what that means when we talk about using the cloud. It's basically that all of these things are web-based. That's why we can access them anywhere that we have access to the internet. I would like you to start, if you're very unfamiliar with Google Docs and Google Drive, I'd like you to start with this tutorial. You can start with Google Accounts and just work your way through Google Docs, Google Drive, Google Sheets, and then you can stop there for the moment. But I would like you to do these tutorials. I'll just show you what they look like when you open them. You go through each one, you click on it, you have some reading, sometimes you have some videos, sometimes you'll have practice things, and it's a little bit interactive, and you just go through the tutorials. So spend as much time as you need to. For some of you it might not be at all. For the others it might be a couple of hours. Maybe you could devote like 30 minutes a couple of times a week to go through some of these tutorials. So I hope that's been helpful. Please reach out. You can always post a question on the discussion forum. Thank you.